good morning, Mr. Caleb. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good, Sean. It's great to see you this morning.
Yes, sir. Hey, man, I sincerely appreciate you jumping on. Audience, anybody out there who's going to be viewing this, I think you're in for a treat. This guy's results from his first to his second year are pretty impressive. And today he's got a very, very thriving business. And I'm hoping he's going to drop a lot of nuggets with us today that can help you grow your production as well. So, Caleb, everybody would like to get to know you a little bit here. So why don't we start off and just tell them a little bit about yourself and maybe how you first got into real estate?
Definitely. Yeah, it was a kind of a long journey from where I was originally to getting here. So I actually studied and then, got my master's in biology, worked as a biologist for about 10 years. That had been my plan most of my life and wasn't planning on leaving that. But actually my wife and I were going to have our first child, and she had been working as a teacher and I just wasn't making enough at the place I was.
Yeah.
And so I was looking for another job in biology, and I was actually going to get a job with the federal government. And then a sequester happened and that shut down all hiring. And so I kind of pivoted at that point. Took a job at a nonprofit and was running a nonprofit down in Georgia for about 5 years. Really loved the work. I worked with young men ages 16 to 21. It was a alternative to incarceration. So a lot of times it was court ordered. And, just was very fulfilling work. My wife and I both loved being there. But just didn't want to stay where we were location wise. At that point, we had 2 boys and we had a little girl on the way, and just decided we wanted to get out west and, have kind of a different life for them. So I resigned and just I had no real idea of what I was going to do. And we were, my wife was having some major complications with the pregnancy. And I just said, Lord, I don't know what I have coming, but, I'm going to trust. And so we moved out to Colorado Springs in 2019. And, and I had a lot of friends out here. My dad had grown up out here, so I knew some different people, family, friends, things like that. And so I was meeting with a gentleman who actually owned an independent brokerage. But I was meeting with him to just kind of utilize the context that he had within this area, really for the nonprofit. I was planning on staying in the nonprofit world. And just every door that should have been wide open was closed. And, it was just an interesting time where I was kind of getting nervous. It had been about a year without a job total. And I'd kind of planned for that and had saved, but we were blowing through that pretty quick. So, he offered me a job. He said, I'd love to work with you. You pick what you want to do. And I said, well, I'm really interested in residential real estate. And so he said, let's do it. And he gave me the freedom to get into this business. But he hadn't really been doing residential real estate for a while, just helping friends and family out. And he owned his brokerage, but they did a lot of management stuff, property management, HOA management. And I wasn't as interested in that. And so I came on and I was helping with other parts of the business, just to kind of, pay my rent kind of thing.
Yeah.
But again, all I knew was from what I'd taken in classes. And, like everybody says, you don't learn how to do real estate by taking real estate classes.
No doubt.
And so I was just, I had a couple people that I talked to and they said, oh yeah, we'll let, people we know that you're in real estate and all of that. But I didn't know how to market. I didn't know how really anything. And so, I managed somehow to do, I think 7 deals on my own that first year in 2020. And that was all during COVID, which was, I didn't know any different. So why not throw COVID in there and, I figured it out. I figured anything that hurts the industry is going to just help me out because it's going to level the playing field a little bit.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, during that time though, I was talking with a lot of other agents, just trying to see what is the competition out there? Can I pick people's brains to learn some little tidbits of, how to get more business? Again, I was learning even simple things of like, finding your niche and, all of those things where it's like, okay, what can I learn on YouTube? and finding random people that I have no idea who they are.
Yeah.
And so in that, I had some really good conversations with other agents. I was talking to them about, not just the business, but also about their brokerages, trying to learn, what do they offer? Because I was looking to maybe build a team where I was,
Yeah.
and I wanted to see what the competition was offering. And so, but in all of that time, I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to build a team, but I also need to start doing some business to pay the bills. So I got to figure all this out. And I didn't even know that there was a difference in things like splits and caps. And, I didn't know any of that. So I literally did not know what I didn't know. And so I was learning quite a bit. Every time I'd talk, I would just ask questions and then I would just listen. I would just try to have them, get them started talking. And I did one transaction with a gentleman named Steve Carruthers. He's also here with the Freedom Team, and had a great interaction with him. And he was one where it's like, hey, he's been in this a long time. He had done fix and flips. I was interested in that, so I wanted to pick his brain on some of that. And so when I was talking to him, he started telling me about his brokerage and kind of what they had to offer. And I just quickly realized I don't need to reinvent the wheel. I don't need to try to build something at some brokerage that I don't own for somebody else when I'm not getting any support there. So why not go somewhere that's going to provide all of that? And so, I met with him once, and I knew it at that time, but I was trying to play a little bit of hardball and just kind of still figure things out for myself.
Yeah.
So I met with him again and another gentleman named Jeff, and I just knew it. And so I signed up. I think it was either that night or the next day, and I switched over. At that point, I'd spoken to my friend. He knew what was going on, and he knew it was best not just for me, but he was already looking himself because of the struggles he was kind of having in his own business. And so anyway, he was completely supportive. I joined and came over to eXp, and it was really just through God's grace that I was not just at eXp, but that I joined the Freedom Team. Jeff was the one that really, Jeff Morrell, who was one of the founding members of Freedom Team, along with you and Kathy and all the others. And it was something that I didn't really realize how fortunate I was to get into the Freedom Team. But I saw what eXp could offer, and I saw all of the training, all of the other things that could really teach me how to be successful. But I also saw one of the most important things with eXp was how they incentivized collaboration. And that was something that I quickly, once I got into eXp and into eXp world, and just seeing not just top agents, but world beater agents that were literally just, hey, what can I do to help?
Yeah.
And and I can tell us, stories and stories about it. I got into, wasn't any issue. I was just having some struggles my first year, and I called up another eXp agent who didn't know me from Adam, but I knew he had been a managing broker at his previous brokerage. And I called him up and just introduced who I was and just said, hey, I just have an issue. I just wanted to ask. We talked for over an hour. Al Pulmonari here in Colorado Springs.
Yeah.
Spoke with him. He was amazing. Gave me all of this information, all of this advice. And then he was calling to check in on me to make sure that situation was good. And he didn't have to do any of that. And that was something that just having that kind of collaboration amongst agents, and them just saying, hey, I'm going to open my arms and just give you everything that I'm doing, that I've been successful with for 25 years, 30 years, however long.
Yeah.
That was huge. But being able to go from, that first year with my independent, I did 7 deals and I helped out, with a few others. And as soon as I joined eXp, I jumped right into their training. They had, basic real estate 101.
Yeah.
And I jumped into that and just kind of, hey, I want to, I've been doing this for a year, and I've done a few deals, but I feel like I don't have a strong foundation in knowledge in just what is this business. And so I jumped in and just did some of the basic courses, but at the same time, they had advanced courses on all kinds of things, on marketing, on how to work with clients, on contracts, on all of that. So I just tried to do that as much as I could because it was there. It was free. It was all available.
Yeah.
You
And that led to, Caleb, that led to how many deals your very first year here over here at the
Yes,
Freedom?
so my first year at eXp really wasn't a full year because I feel like I didn't really get rolling from November until about February. But I did 27 my first year. I missed iconing by 2 weeks on my last deal. And then my first real full year with eXp where I was up and running, I did 48. And so iconed, got all of my, I got stock back as far as all of my cap and all of that. I fully understood by that point of, 80-20 splits and, $16,000 cap, but I also understood so much more of what eXp could offer. And so it was just amazing.
Let me touch on a couple things you've said just for the audience here, because that first testimony you really said grabbed me because I've heard it 100 times since I've been here now for almost 8 years, that you can just reach out to almost anybody. Doesn't matter what their experience level is at the eXp or the Freedom team, and people are willing to help you. Totally nothing to do with you. They're not going to profit from it. There's this camaraderie, this openness, open up the playbook and and the only thing I can think of, because you hear this from veteran agents that come over, 20 and 30 year veterans going, I've never seen this kind of collaboration where everybody's, and the only thing I can take it back to, the main thing I think is we're all shareholders. Everybody wins by everybody winning. The more we can grow our production, the more everybody wins, and we can all earn extra, stock and so forth. I mean, other than that, I don't know what the collaboration is other than we now have, what's the last I heard? In 41 of the 50 states, eXp now has the number 1 or number 2 agent in the state, which is just kind of mind-blowing. So let's
but it makes sense. It's something where people want to belong to somewhere that they have ownership.
Yeah.
And that went back to me being at that independent. I would have built something that would have belonged to somebody else. I would have had no stake in it.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't, it's like you have to motivate people, not just people want to help other people, but if they do that and it's detrimental, then that immediately is going to put that block in place. And I think that's the beauty of eXp is that they've removed all of that. They've removed that jealousy over, hey, if I make a bunch of money, that's going to make these other people more wealthy.
Yeah.
Instead of, if I do a bunch of business, I'm going to make all of us wealthy.
We're all going to win. Yeah. It's a definitely different mindset. Just go into a few questions here that I'll put together here so the audience can get some real value. So your transition to real estate, obviously it wasn't easy. You walked us through that. You quickly realized you didn't know what you didn't know. I love that phrase. What were the biggest lessons you learned early on that helped you scale to now you guys 48 deals and achieve what we call icon status, and maybe touch on what that icon status is?
For sure. So icon, I'll just do the icon and then kind of get back to some of the other questions. Icon, once you cap, so different places it's going to be different based on, what is the average sales price.
Yeah.
But once you cap, you do 20 more deals, past cap. And at that point, so you're already 100% and you do have a cap fee, but it's pretty minimal, especially for what you're getting. But once you do those 20 deals, you become an icon. And at that point, you immediately get half of your cap back. So half of that 16,000 in stock. And then you have some other incentives that they provide to say, hey, we'll give you another 8,000 in stock. So you basically, now you're way over 100% as far as a real 100% brokerage.
Yeah.
Because you've gotten all that back. You can sell that if you want and get your cash, but it's like, why not keep it and have that grow and make more from it?
Yeah.
So that's the beauty of we have that extra, path for making even more as far as what they give us. But in that, it's, hey, give back to the community, not back to eXp, give back to the community by, teaching classes, coming to these events, doing all of these things that help to lift the whole, community around you, and we'll incentivize it. So they're like, hey, we'll give you another $8,000 if you just share some of what you've done to get to be an icon with others around you. So it really is just something that in every single way, they're incentivizing with eXp's money, not with our money, with eXp's money, they're incentivizing us to help all those around us. And that's the part my wife was saying, I went to a conference. Jeff reached out to me and said, hey, there's this amazing conference. I've been doing it for, I've been working with these guys for a year. I think you'd be interested. I bought the ticket while we were on the Zoom call. Like, he didn't know, we were talking with, there was a couple of us on it. Yeah. And he's like, if you guys are interested, let me know. I said, I'm already, I already have my ticket and I'm already booked. I'm coming down there. Yeah. And went down there. It was amazing. It was something where Jeff's reaching out to me saying, hey, this is something that would really benefit you. You can learn all of these things that I'm doing. And eXp in that way is incentivizing all of us to do this. And it doesn't cost any of us, like, none of the money that we're putting into eXp is, it's like, I'm not having to pay eXp and pay another agent. Yeah. And so that was just something where Jeff is reaching out to me saying, hey, this is going to benefit you in incredible ways. It's another eXp agent who has no real connection to us outside of just, he knows Jeff and he's good friends with him. And, and so I think it's just building that kind of camaraderie, collaboration, and the willingness to allow people to be the givers that they want to be. Most people want to give. Yeah. Yeah. But it's really hard to give if it's going to hurt you or hurt your family in some way. And eXp has taken the blocks out of that. So that's kind of just a quick recap of what an icon is. As far as, my experience of what I was really learning, a lot of it was, here's some different marketing tips. Here's some different things that you can do. But a lot of what I learned was, really stay true to who you are. If you're going to do something, whether that's marketing on Facebook or, I have all these other agents that I'm friends with that they, it's like, I'm going to do Instagram, I'm going to do TikTok, I'm going to do whatever it is. But if that's not who you are, you can't force yourself to do that. You never are going to be successful if you're trying to do something that you naturally aren't going to want to do. Yeah. And so I learned that pretty quickly of like, I can't be some of these other agents because that's not who I am. So I need to be who I am. I tend to be, I wasn't going to build a huge team. I quickly learned because I wanted to work directly with my clients. And I get to be, really close with a lot of my clients. I tend to be friends with them. Yeah. And so it's almost like it feels really hard because it feels like a breakup when you get to closing, because then it's like, hey, I'm not going to be hanging out with you all the time. But in the end, I usually end up just hanging out with them and we're just, we're going out and all of that. So a lot of that is just, there's kind of an authenticity and genuineness that I try to, that's just part of who I am. Yeah. And so that was some advice that I got from a number of agents was just be who you are, be true to who you are. Don't try to change your personality, but try to work within that personality. And so you can do these trainings, you can talk to all these other agents that are going to give you tips on what they do, but you've got to take the little bits from those tips and then utilize them with how you are going to be most successful. So I think for a lot of people, it's, if you don't know who you are, you need to ask the people around you that are the closest to you and start to get that information. But really find out who you are, how you work, how you prefer to do these things so that you can drill deeply into that, because all of us can be successful, but we're not going to be successful if we're trying to be someone who we're not. Yeah. So that was a big thing.
Pick that little niche, whatever little marketing ideas you want to do. I've also been trained and told, find 2 or 3 and stick to them for at least 6 months to a year. Stay consistent. Oh yeah. Align with you, your personality. And I love what you said. I do the same thing. I go to all these different trainings and just grab the little bits that I think would work with me, that I'd feel comfortable doing. And that's the way I'd love to market. And so that's awesome. And you guys, to do 48 deals, obviously, if you're watching this today, whether you're doing 5, 10, 15, 20, just know there are paths that we can help put you on that can take you up to the 20, to the 30, to the 40 transactions. And what you're doing right now is awesome. Man, your success has been incredible. Anybody starting to do close to 50 deals is pretty amazing. You might be asking right now, I'm assuming you have some support at that point, an ISA, a VA to start doing that many, or are you doing this by yourself?
No, yeah. When I was doing 48, I had a TC. That was it.
Oh man.
And it was just something where I was that I quickly learned, like if I'm going to have a family, which I
Exactly.
have already, so I
Yeah.
can't get rid of them. I've got to do some things differently, and I had a very frank conversation with my wife, and she was super supportive of, hey, we've got a hole to dig out of. So this is something that, again, that's something I didn't know. I didn't know about, ISAs. I didn't know about, VAs and all of that, getting a virtual assistant. Um, but I was introduced to all of that, but not just introduced. I was literally given, here's my playbook. This is how, and these are other eXp agents from the Freedom team that, we had one who's Aaron Ken, who he's down in Texas,
Yeah.
just a rock star agent. He's been doing this for years, knows, he could turn around and, I found another client. I mean, he has it down. But I also know, like, hey, I'm not going to set it up like him because that's not who I am. I can't do what he does exactly, but I can take. So he flew up here. He did a training, laid out all of this stuff. This is what I do, and I was able to take so many things from that. And I think we even have that training on video. You can go back and watch it, and it's stellar.
So I know he's done two of them with us right now. He's done one on listings, which, guys, we had people on there with 20-year veterans. They were like, wow, okay, I didn't know that. I didn't know I could do that. And implement it became so popular. It was a 4-part series. I mean, he closes 99% of every client he sits in front of. His listing presentation's remarkable. We have all of it in detail, but he also trained on how to properly set up your Google business page. Because I'll never forget that training. Was about 40 of us on there. He asked how many had it, and like kind of half the hands went up that had it. And how many are getting transactions every month? Every hand went down. He rolled out this, you guys. We'd be more than happy, Caleb or I, to give you this training for free.
For sure.
Attending this, just ask us for it. He walks us through in detail exactly how to set it up. We've had multiple agents in our Freedom Team group that have set it up, Jeff being one of them. Jeff, after about his first 3 or 4 months, here the last 12 months, he made over $100,000 extra from his Google business page. Before that, he was getting 1, maybe 2 deals a year. So, guys, we so many different things where, again, people open up their playbook and show you in detail exactly how to set it up. And so anyway, yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Yes.
Okay, let's take this one. So you took a unique approach to learning the industry by reaching out to experienced agents and picking their brains, like you said. What were some of the other key insights you gained from those conversations, and how did they influence your decision to join Freedom Team at eXp? You kind of talked about, but is there anything else you want to touch on right there?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is, real estate as a business, as a market, all of that is just like everything. It's constantly changing, constantly improving. And I often go back to interviews that I've seen with Glenn Sanford, where he talks about just the foundation for eXp came from really studying all of these other brokerages.
Yeah.
And saying there has to be a better way of doing this. And I think so many conversations that I've had for during that time when I was still searching, and I spoke with all these other agents, and you'd be amazed how often they would not just talk about what was positive where they are, but also all the things that I wish they did this differently, or I love all of this, but you've got to be doing enough business that you can really afford to be with us, because that's just how much it costs.
Yeah.
And there was so many things where you could just feel those pain points from all these people. And so it's like, well, why am I, it's like, I love the honesty. I love what you're telling me, but why would I want to join there if it's going to be so painful for me, whether it's to my pocketbook or whatever it is. And so I think that was huge, of just listening to them and really seeing like, hey, I need to really zero in on what I want from my business and what kind of support that I want. I love being able to work at eXp, and I mean, there's so many things that I don't even get to, that, whether it's trainings, support pieces, getting into the world and having a real conversation with so many different things. I mean, there's a fast cap program now that I've just started learning about,
Yeah.
and it's been going and it's turning out all kinds of stuff. And I mean, it's something where I have to pick and choose the things that I'm going to jump on, because I'm constantly missing so much stuff that's so beneficial, because it's like, well, I got to take some of this and actually put it into action. And now I'm so busy with actual work and doing all these deals, and I'm, and so it's, but kind of all that to say, getting back to some of the things that we were talking about earlier. One, so I talked about kind of being true to myself. I think it was also, you said, two or three. I'd really say two niches,
Okay.
because what I've learned is, as I was doing three, and it was just, I was wasting time by not engaging that third.
Okay.
And all the time that was just kind of really weighing on me of like, hey, I've got this other opportunity, but I don't have the time to do it. But now I reached out to another eXp agent who I had met at this conference down in Texas, and I was just asking her. She had made some comment about virtual assistants, and I said, hey, I'd like to pick your brain about that. She said, hey, let's do a Zoom. Call me up. We'll do it. And she's done, I don't know how many virtual assistants. She has the whole, playbook down, as far as, this is where I go to find them. This is the here's my ad, tweak it for you. She literally sent me the ad that she uses and said, you can tweak it, use it all you want. Here's all of the questions that I ask in the interview. Here's videos of all the interviews I've done.
Wow.
Hire slow, fire fast. If they're not working out, you just have to be kind of cutthroat in that, because having somebody like that either is going to waste your time and you're going to lose deals, or they're going to maximize all that you can do. So she literally gave me her whole playbook for, and again, this is an agent. She's out of Canada. Awesome agent. But she had no qualms about just saying, be successful, take all of this. And so and I have no problem sharing all of that. She said, if you want to share this, share it. And that's the beauty, I think, in what I learned, and I don't want to throw out any other brokerage names, but just with some of them, it was, you had actual brokerage offices in the same town that were stealing agents from each other. And so you'd have two or three agents going in the front door, while four or five are going out the back door to another brokerage, to another office from that same brokerage.
Yeah.
And so you have that kind of just, there just isn't anywhere like it, as far as just the openness to not just share and collaborate, but the desire to help others to be super excited and super successful. And I mean, I've actually pulled back to do less deals so that I can do some of these other things that I've wanted to do, not just within my business, which that's the big important thing. There's several things that eXp offers that I saw from the very get-go. That, the fact that they incentivize agent attraction is huge. And that was the thing that I said, hey, that's going to get me out of this business. And I'd been in for less than a year. And it wasn't so much that I didn't want to do the business. I love real estate, but it's exhausting as well to like, just, hey, if I do 48 deals, what do I need to do next year to do 50, 58 or 68? Yes. And, it's like the old traditional way was, I'll just build a team. But if you're not there, that team doesn't run. So I just was, I was learning from all these agents that have been in for 25 years. Jeff Morrell, he was the one that really convinced me. Just, I saw it from him, and I signed up that night. But he had said, like, I've been doing this for a long time, and without eXp, I don't see an end in sight.
Yeah.
I don't, I have to have something always in my pipeline. And so I look at Jeff. And I don't know if I've ever told him, but I'll always appreciate what he's done. And when I look at him, I look at you, because you brought him into eXp, and, going all the way back up to, Rob Flick and some of these others, that they saw something and, realized what it could be for not just them, but for, all of them, or, all of those around them. And so my appreciation for you and for Jeff, and then you guys getting together with some of the others and putting the Freedom Team together. When I first joined, I joined in November, and I went to a Freedom Team event in January down in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And that was something where it's like, hey, we're gonna learn all of this, and it was hugely impactful, and I loved it. But the beauty is that Freedom Team, they learned like, hey, we've got to continue to grow and provide more offerings for our people so that they're doing even better and better and better. And so in the last 4.5, 5 years, I've seen so much as far as just offerings from the Freedom Team itself, the trainings that we have, the interviews that we're having.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're bringing in all the top people, and we're bringing in agents that have done more deals than I ever care to ever do. And it's like, can I learn from somebody who's done 5,000 or 6,000 deals? You bet. And I'm not going to learn to be who they are. I'm going to learn, hey, there's this little piece I can grab, and I'm going to take this, tweak it for myself, and use it. So there's so much that the eXp offers now, or that Freedom Team offers now. I mean, the fact that we have somebody that does all of our onboarding, that you guys take care of, so that we don't have to. So there's so much that I am thankful for with that. But I mean, I was telling Jeff when we were down in Texas, I'm like, it just doesn't even compare right now with the fact that eXp offers so much. And I think coming out of everything that we've gone through in the last year with all of these, lawsuits around the country, I think we're better positioned than anybody, because eXp just they weren't okay just doing status quo. So, okay, we're gonna roll all of this out. We're gonna be on top of it, and everybody's gonna be ready long before we have to be. So, and then all of the trainings, the fast cap, Icon, they've done all of these things. If you do Icon, you get even more. I mean, there's so many things where they're saying, okay, we're not going to let you just stop and coast. We're going to offer all of these things. But then Freedom Team, we have amazing trainings that you can learn anything you want. And we're putting it out every week. So it's, you can pick and choose if you want, but there's always things that's another thing is don't ignore a training if it's something that you're not quite interested in, because there's so much in them that you're going to get something out that's really valuable. And it might be that, hey, I'm not really interested in Instagram. I'm not really interested in AI. Well, that's where things are going. But even within that, there's going to be that could be the best training you've ever been on because of some little thing that you get. So, so Freedom Team's offering so much. And then on top of that, now we're getting this partnership going, that you just joined, and Jeff brought me in, with Freedom Funnel. And so I'm like, I have so much, I don't even know where to start as far as what I can give other people that they can be way more successful than I've ever been. And it's exciting. I love it.
I love it too. There's so many things I could add on, and I don't want to get this thing going too much longer. Let's wrap it up here fairly quickly, but I will touch on one or two things you said. In regards to just all of us coming together every single week, let me just give you a testimony coming back from Jeff. I love this. You've probably heard Jeff say this. It's probably been 4 or 5 months I heard him say it. We do 4 masterminds, you guys, every single week, Monday through Thursday, same time, same Zoom link. Tuesdays is when we always have a big icon type agent like Caleb come in, who's doing usually 25 plus deals, usually 7-8 million or greater. And they come in and train something they're really, really good at. Here's his story about that. He goes, he's one of the moderators on Tuesday. And Jeff says, look, guys, I'll be honest with you. If I wasn't the moderator and I had 10 things to do that day, this would be number 11, coming to attend to Tuesday morning training. He goes, I'm just trying to be honest with you. Because back when as a 20-year veteran, I feel like I know what I need to know, and I've been running my race. Then he goes, but because I'm the moderator and I have to sit here every week for 1 hour, 50 out of 52 weeks we do it. So 1 hour a week, you guys, just 50 hours for the entire year. He went and implemented, like you just said, little bitty nuggets he learned from that training that he thought he knew everything, but to be a 30-year veteran, right, doing 20 million, implemented. He and his wife last year did 15 additional deals simply from what he learned on 1 hour a week. I can't stress enough to the people in the Freedom Group going, God, if you're not attending or at least rewatching the recording, what are you doing? If you can add that many more transactions, then you go back to the Google My Business. That added extra 100K. There's so many different things. So let me ask you one last question to kind of pull this all together. Obviously, you've achieved a lot of rapid success, Caleb, in real estate while balancing family life. What systems or strategies, have helped you stay productive while maintaining a strong work-life balance? What are you doing to help get that balance with you and your family?
Right. And I would piggyback off of what you just said of just attending those, even if, like you said, it's 50 hours. We waste so much time in our lives doing things, whether they're not productive or just taking too much time to do something.
Yeah.
That put the things that I've learned from a lot of the Freedom Team trainings, like the one that we did with Aaron about the Google My Business, was, hey, let this work for you. And if this is running in the background and you don't have to do it because it's been set up correctly, that could be Google My Business. That could be, things that we're setting up as far as marketing and Facebook and how that's being done. And instead of saying, hey, here's all of these cold leads that you've now got to call, and just you're taking all this time to do all of these things, that's not producing, not in a way, you might get a lead out of it, or you might get a listing or something.
Yeah.
But you're spending so much time doing all these things that don't produce that much. It's be efficient and take all of these nuggets and put them in place, and you can do so much more in so less time. That's the biggest thing for me, was just, hey, I need to stop doing all of these things myself. I need to get not just a TC, but a VA. I need to do less deals because I can do some of these other things that they're going to produce more with less.
And buy your time back at the same time.
Right. And so it's like, my kids are only going to be this age once. And so it's like, no, I got to stop. Before, when I was doing 48 deals in a year, it was, hey, I didn't, they're off on vacation. I'm at home working. I'm on the phone at 11:30 at night, 12 o'clock at night, 3 o'clock. Just one really quick example. We went to Germany to visit. My best friend was stationed over there. So we flew over there for almost a month. And my schedule I was there was, I'm going to hang out with the whole family and our friends during the day. And then about 8 o'clock at night, I'm going to start working. And I worked from 8 o'clock till about 3:34 in the morning. I would get about 2 hours of sleep, get up and get going again. Yeah. And it was just something where I was being really successful, but what kind of life is that?
Yeah.
It just wasn't, and so it's like, hey, if you're going to try to do all of this on your own, it's not going to work. It's not going to go well. You're not going to appreciate the success you have. And so there are so many options that our trainings are showing, like, hey, you can do this, and we'll literally lay it out so that you don't even have to do it. You can just take what we're doing and get a VA, and that's going to save you countless hours of doing things that really, in the end, it's not worth your time. And that's the thing that I would say is, you need to figure out who you are, and you need to figure out what's that price tag for an hour of your time.
Yeah. I was just thinking, Caleb, you hear this all the time, but it's fair what you made last year in 2024, give an approximate on how many hours you work per week, break it down, and you'll figure out what you make per hour. And then look at everything you do, and whether or not I believe in 100% of this, but look at everything you do and go, if this thing is not making me that much per hour, I should outsource it. And I agree with all that, other than the one thing I'm trying to add to it now is have at least a good understanding of what that person's about to do for you, so you at least have some knowledge.
Right.
I'm now to the point where, yes, I'm outsourcing almost anything that isn't going to be making me as much money as productively being in front of clients.
Right.
And we're talking to agents.
Yeah. And I think, that's the thing where you've got to know how to train it. So you've got to know it in order to train somebody else to do it the way you want it or need it to be done.
Yeah.
So you have to have that full understanding, and then hire that person to take it off your plate, and you're going to do better and have more time. But I think also it's, you, in order to really continue to grow and to be more and more successful, like, you've got to build all of these things into your own life as far as really enjoying your life. You've got to have a reason to be successful. And so I think those are just things that I've learned through, conversations with Jeff, things that Jeff has said, things that you have said, things that Kathy Carter and, some of these others that we have on the Freedom Team. They're constantly giving stories of, things that have led them to eXp, and there's a reason for it. It's because there was, you can't get off of that rat race, that, that constant, you're running like a gerbil on a hamster wheel, and you can't get off. And that's why I think you see the top agents from every single state are coming over, because, and that was, Michael Reese, Jay Kinder, all of these others that talk about it. Like, it's exhausting. And if you always have that stress of having to have that pipeline full, and you're doing it all on your own, there's only so much you can give. And so I think, yes, of bringing in a VA and bringing in, get multiple TSAs, get ISAs, all of those things. But I would say also is saying, you know what, that has to be something I want, and so really have a full understanding of what they do and what kind of business you want to have, and then build your business. Don't worry about somebody else who has a huge team, or if you don't want to have a team. Don't worry about, somebody's doing really well in this niche. I can make a ton of money in that niche if I just put the time in. If you don't want to put the time in, then it's a waste of your time. And so like what you were saying of like, hey, I'm not making as much money in this and I'm putting a lot of stuff into it. That's where, where I said, well, I just need to really focus on these two areas that I know I can be successful. I love this. For me, it's, I've been doing a bunch of fix and flips. That was something that I was really interested in, and I love it. But it's really not worth the time, effort, and money and risk. And so I might still do that. I've got all of these vendors that I've been able to put together, and these guys that are, these people that are really wonderful at what they do. But I just decided, you know what, this isn't worth the risk when I can be really successful, make more money doing less, and, with just working with, providing a really strong service to buyers and sellers within, the military community. And I can do more, more in that way than if I do this other thing and put a lot more time and effort into it. And so that's something I'm constantly evaluating. Every year, I'm going to look back and say, okay, was this worth it? And that is that worth the time? Is it worth the money? Is it worth the stress and the effort that I'm putting in? And do I get joy out of it? And so that's the beauty that eXp, Freedom Team have really allowed me to get to that place, which is where I wanted to get, of just saying, what do I enjoy so that I can do more of that.
And I'll say this to wrap this up, audience. Thank you guys for those that have hung around. We've been on here for 43 minutes. Amazing. Those go that long. But the one thing that I think I see so much about the Freedom Team and being here at eXp is whether you're a veteran agent, been in for 10, 20 years, or whether you're a new agent, kind of like Caleb's been saying, at some point in time, I would assume everybody would like to get off the hamster wheel. And so there's really no exit for the most part in real estate, right? Like Jeff always jokes around, I've never been to an agent or a, what did he say? An agent. What does he say about the real estate funeral?
To a retirement party.
Yes, never been to an agent retirement party, but I've been to an agent funeral.
Right.
And it's so interesting when I look at all this right now. There's multiple ways, you guys, for watching. Feel free to reach out to either one of us, that we can put you on a path that can eventually help your income continue to grow, but you start to buy back your time and get off that hamster wheel. Otherwise, at some point, you're going to look up 20 years from now, and like you said, whether you're at 45 deals, what do I got to do the following year? With inflation, all that, you got to do more than you did. At some point, you spread yourself so thin, you're burnt out and you're stressed. We're telling you, come into this kind of a program. We'll put you on a path that you'll look up in 3, 4, 5, 6 years. I love saying this. You'll look up and have options, right? Because if you've accumulated a certain amount of stock, you've now got your rev share growing. And I know the path you're getting ready to take, Caleb. And I challenge anybody watching this, follow Caleb over the next 12, 24 months. Watch what starts to happen. I promise you, because I know where you're going. He's going to start buying his time back in a big way while providing tremendous value to other agents. for them to grow their production. So Caleb, we're so blessed, brother, that you came onto the show. I sincerely appreciate it. I'll get this sent over to you afterwards. Let me do a quick little exit show here. We'll be right back.